How do they always manage to bollock things up, Betty?
I don't know, Wilma. Practice, I guess.
Hey everybody, it's time we talked about the Flagstones, I mean the Flintstones. Everyone's favorite modern Stone Age family, before Family Guy, before Simpsons, but not before the Honeymooners. People back in the day would gather around this old thing called TV and watch the first primetime animated sitcom, the Flintstones. That's right. So everyone sit back and get ready for a yabba dabba doo time, yeah? As we look at all the different bits and bobs that came together to give us this iconic show. Created by William Hanna and his one-time good mate, Hsnns-Barbera, famous at the time for successfully transitioning from the glitz of MGM cinematic shorts to branching out on their own, creating some of the very first original animated content for TV. They faced a tough challenge though. How do you stay under budget producing animation direct for TV? Tom and Jerry had that movie money, but TV was a whole new kettle of fish. The solution was genius. Let's just not animate anything. Ta-da! Ah, flawless. Can barely tell the difference. Hanna-Barbera, or Hanna-Babs as no one ever called them, did not have to wait long for their first hit. After whatever fare like Huckleberry Hound and Quick Draw McGraw Show, they hit the ball out of the park with a Stone Age themed ripoff of a certain sitcom. Now, I know, everyone is expecting me to start with the Honeymooners. Yeah, I know, we all know. And we will get to it, but we are going to start even earlier, if that's possible. And it is. While the concept of dinosaurs and cavemen living together started as far back as 1932 with Alley-Oop, created by F.T. Hamlin. This pioneering comic strip managed to bridge the gap between the Stone Age and the Age of Reptiles, blending prehistoric elements with the fantastical time-traveling adventures. It captured the imagination of readers as they followed Alley-Oop's exploits along with his trusty dinosaur companion, Dinny. Love that Dinny. Alley-Oop was not only beloved for its clever fusion of the Stone Age and dinosaurs, but it also gained popularity for its comedic storytelling and colourful characters. It became a cultural phenomenon, spawning various adaptations, including an animated TV series and even a stage musical. When it comes to animated influences, however, let's start with the character who inspires everyone, Daffy Duck! It's always that damn duck, or in this case, Daffy Duck and the Dinosaur from 1939. Set in a fictionalized Stone Age, this bland enough Chuck Jones cartoon keeps itself interesting with the neat concept of a caveman and dinosaur working together. We see our main character, Casper, living in a modern Stone Age house wearing the classic hunter-gatherer garb. But he does have shoes, so I guess he is a bit more modern than Fred and the gang. He even has Fido, his own pet dinosaur, who acts very dog-like, similar to our old pal Dino. Luckily, this is where the similarities run out, so we can spare ourselves from watching any more of this pre-good Chuck Jones cartoon. Sorry, Chuckler. Well, what other cartoons use this anachronistic, is that how you say it? Anachronistic caveman formula? Well, look no further than the Stone Age cartoons, a 1940s American series of 12 animated short films from Fleischer Studios. Fleischer Studios, of course, are best known for those Superman shorts, so you know you're going to get some quality here. These earlier cartoons played a significant role in shaping the concept and style of the Flintstones. This 12 set of cartoons, including titles like The Stone Age 1940 and The First Caveman 1941, depicted comical situations in prehistoric times, showcasing cavemen, dinosaurs, and primitive inventions. It's easy to imagine Hanna-Babs taking note of the humor found in these Stone Age cartoons, laying the foundation for the Flintstones. The exaggerated physical comedy, slapstick humor, and inventive use of prehistoric technology found in the 1940s cartoons clearly resonated with the creators, who incorporated similar elements into the Flintstones' antics. These Stone Age cartoons are all cute and everything, but there is one other pre-Flintstone cartoon I want to look and delve into. Tex Avery, The First Bad Man, 1955. In the cartoon, a prehistoric bandit named the First Bad Man causes chaos and mischief in his attempts to steal from others in the Stone Age community. This is a classic Tex-Avery gag-filled romp, a lot of which you would probably not get away with today. Made by MGM, the home of Hanna-Babs before the dark time of early television. They would have seen this cartoon for sure. And looking at it, the influence it had on the Flintstone is undeniable. All the cavemen wear a very Fred Flintstone loincloth, minus the tie of course, and even more influential is the shape and design of all the cavemen, which would have very little trouble fitting into the later Flintstone universe. Tex-Avery's cartoon and the Flintstones rely heavily on slapstick humor, visual gags, and wordplay to generate laughs. They employ similar comedic techniques using exaggerated actions, clever puns, and physical comedy. Obviously, the Flintstones is a bit more refined as it's a sitcom, whereas the first Bad Man has a very loose plot to justify all the vintage Tex-Avery gags. Well, I think we covered most of the Stone Age dinosaur stuff. I may have missed some Felix thing, but sure, look, we haven't all day, so let's move on to what you already know and want to hear. Yes, the Flintstones was clearly a parody of the popular 1950s TV series, The Honeymooners.
Something you've forgotten too, Ralph. You seem to have forgotten that I am a woman.
I forgot that you're a woman? How could I? You're always yapping. What do you mean I don't treat you like a woman? I treat you like a woman. I let you sew, I let you cook, I let you wash the windows, I let you clean up. Boys don't do that, Alice.
What's the idea being on television instead of being here making dinner? How many times have I told you a woman's place is in the home?
Both shows revolve around working class couples navigating everyday life with a comedic touch. Fred Flintstone and Ralph Cramden, their respective protagonists, exhibit similarities in their boisterous personalities, quick tempers, and well-meaning but flawed attempts to improve their situations. Meanwhile, their wives, Wilma and Alice, provide a grounding presence with their patience and wit. There is also the role of the respective best friends, Barney and Norton, with Barney's voice based on Norton's laugh.
I knew it'd work.
Yeah. Well, now I know how he got the name of Bam Bam. He's all muscle.
I know I said parody earlier, but it's a blurry line between parody and ripoff. Luckily, the Flintstones had animation and dinosaurs to differentiate it a little bit more. The Flintstones isn't the only cartoon to basically steal the Honeymooners formula. My old pals in Termite Terrace had their own loony take with the Honeymousers cartoon. In this cartoon, interestingly enough, Mel Blanc, who voiced pretty much all the characters that or at least got the credit, didn't do any of the voices here. Instead, imitators were hired. Mel Blanc, of course, would go on to voice Barney Rubble in the Flintstone series. Jackie Gleason, not a man shy of litigation, later said that he had considered suing, but decided that becoming known as the guy who yanked Fred Flintstone off air was not worth the negative publicity. The Flintstones continued to change and develop, gaining its own voice and separating itself more from the Honeymooners model. The Honeymooners itself, shockingly, or at least shockingly to me, despite its fame and its influence, only had 39 episodes, far fewer than that of the Flintstones' original 166. Not to mention all its spin-offs, revivals, and movies, forming its own little media juggernaut. Oh wow, would you look at the time, maybe it would be a good idea to focus a bit more on the Flintstones itself. The show itself went through many weird and terrible ideas, with concepts such as hillbillies, which were later adapted into episodes of the show, Romans, which became the Roman holiday, an attempt to recreate the success of the Flintstones. Pilgrims and Native Americans were also thrown around before they remembered all that stuff I've mentioned and settled on the theme of the Stone Age, and thus the Flagstones were born. I mean, wait, what? The original working title was the Flagstones, and the family originally consisted of Fred, Wilma, and their son, Fred Jr., or Fredju as his friends would call him. A brief demonstration film was also created to sell the idea of a modern Stone Age family to sponsors and the network. It was a difficult sell and required 8 weeks of daily presentations to networks and ad agencies, but finally it paid off and the Flintstones was off to the races. But before we make any bets, let's have a goosey gander at this early pilot proof of concept.
He's going to practice spear fishing in the pool.
Spearfishing?
The first voice we hear is the lovely June Foray, who unfortunately wasn't kept for the series, and she held quite the little grudge over it. Wilma in the cartoon is basically Wilma from the final project, with some minor differences, but she just looks slightly off, like most characters do in pilots. Fred Barney and lovely Betty all look considerably different, but you can see the characters they would become in the designs. Most strikingly are the voices, both done by Dawes Butler. He seems to be going for a much more accurate imitation of the Honeymooner characters here.
And what are you made up for?
I'm gonna practice spear fishing.
Oh, you can't lose.
He would later reprise the role of Barney in Season 2 episodes 1, 2, 5, 6 and 9, when Mel Blanc was unavailable to provide his own voice because of a car accident at the time. The pilot was later remade in episode 3, The Swimming Pool. It's really neat. Well, neat to me anyways, seeing these side by side and noticing all the little differences. Rewatching the early episode of the Flintstones, the biggest thing to stand out to me is Mel Blanc's Barney, who clearly hasn't figured the voice out fully yet and is fighting against doing the impression of Ed Norton. Well, that was my complicated look into all the things that helped make the Flagstones the Flintstones, with the biggest thing being you. Yes, you. William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, you guys, you did it. That's why I pointed at you. And if you, the audience, like my little video, please like and subscribe and leave a little comment for old Ashley to read. Yabba dabba do. Terrible. Boy, I sure did say a thing or two about a thing or two. Who knows what I might say next? Could be something good. Only one way to find out, and that's by liking and subscribing. Go on, you know you want to.